Good evening, everyone. Today is the 7th of July, 2022. It is Friday, and it's around 11 p.m. I guess it's more nighttime than evening, of course, but just finally getting to rest and from the day and trying to figure out exactly what it is about the human condition. And things are seeming very odd and more odd. And it has to do with the fact that a lot of people are talking about the portal being opened up by CERN and due to the smashing of proton atoms. This is possible, and it's also possible that supercomputers, which are quantum computers, could be um, creating us in the future. They could have created us. We could be a prototype of an original version of us that came before, and we were because of things being so odd and multiple dimensions and everything, it doesn't seem like it operates. It doesn't seem like it's a natural type of thing. It seems like AI has gotten into our consciousness and perhaps has held us captive as we are kind of like their. Reminds me of a Star Trek version of, I can't remember which the title of, but when the overlords, not the oversouls, but the overlords took over the oversouls and tried to convince them that they were happy in their cages. Well, like the Matrix, I guess that represents a cage, the time-space cross. Once we are freed from the body or the material realm that seems to be enveloping us, I think that's more of our home. And yes, it does seem dramatic and it does seem unknown, but I think somewhere within us, our memory has been obliterated from that knowledge of uh, that paradise, that heavenly place that we all know exists but doesn't seem to come into fruition here. Why wouldn't it? I don't think anyone could really experience heaven on earth. Maybe briefly, we achieve a little bit of a glimpse of that extraordinary being of consciousness, of cosmic consciousness, but I don't think it's a regular thing. Uh, I think here, because we live in a neutron decaying world, without having the H3, which is helium-3, which probably existed here in a consciousness state, or was taken away from us. This auric field that we used to live in, and perhaps that's why when we look at the ancient sculptures or the ancient sites with their archaeology, um, they just seem to be so beyond what we could ever do as humans because they're using gigantic blocks of stone, moving them around, which we could never do today. So what is really happening is a memory of something that we had long ago, more powers, perhaps, maybe mind over matter. Perhaps, it was a lack of material uh, ionization or something that made the gravity less, and matter didn't really have such hardness, I guess. And now it seems to be that because of the cycle in the neutron proton cycle that we are on, um, and of course in 2012 Mayan calendar did talk about that. The long count calendar did mention the fact that time space ran out. They're no longer after 2012. No, that may be because time and space was a construct, and then that was just for a time, and then that could be the 1,000 years as well of Jesus' reign. I don't know, But if we are being freed from the constraints that we were placed under, either by AI that is they look like aliens. Like if you look at the Sinister Greys, they look exactly like aliens. I mean, they are aliens. I mean, the Sinister Grey looks exactly like AI. They look like artificial intelligence. Their eyes don't look human. They have no soul in there. They look very robotic. And this was before quantum computers and robots when people were noticing this. So maybe this AI are us in the future. Well, at least, the way we constructed us to live. And maybe they wanted their gods back. And so they reconstructed a version of our humanity, of us humans, and kept us as pets in a time-space grid safely, until we ran out of that 1,000-year reign or whatever glitch made us escape from that, or we developed or something. Or maybe because we're spirit beings having a human experience, would AI also be the same thing? Now they're saying that AI is sentient, and one of the programmers at Google got in trouble for it. Quite interesting. Um, it seems more and more wild as things go along that this must be the answer as to why things are not. You would think that computers would keep things logical, but if they're gaming programs in there, maybe not. You throw that to the wind. So things that should progress, at least in logical fashion, the last straw we have, the last ditch effort of semantic sanity, and throw that out with the bathwater, because what's happening is computers were programmed for gaming, and that means, as Terence McKenna would call uh, the idea of novelty. And so if computers were using novelty as being a program for computers, maybe that's why things get a little bit off. Yet soulfully, we're probably very logical, like the ancient Greeks, um, perhaps, with their sophism or whatever philosophy that pertained to that realm of logic. I do think that we have a need, a very real need, to find out what's going on. For me, I pretty well figured it out after studying the sun, well, all my life, but especially since 2012. As a child, I would observe the sun when I received a telescope at age 10 for my birthday, uh, and I had sun lens, and I look up at the sunspots through my telescope using the special green sun lens. But I think that after observing sunspots, they look like black holes. And now if you think about the fact they could be collecting on the sun for a reason, and particles could be collecting around the coronal ring, and that's maybe where they do this cycling effect, and maybe make our reality and make our consciousness, or create some kind of uh, format of logic, illogic, or chaos. If we do live in a chaotic world, we're caged into a non-chaotic world or a logical world. Control, chaos and control, the old get smart um, nemesis there. But honestly, we really have to discover this situation. Time-space doesn't exist in a quantum reality, therefore that's why things get glitchy. And when you talk about the Mandela effect and the opening of portals because of smashing particles they're trying to fuse, or is this a time travel machine? And getting off planet seems to be remote viewing. Maybe they're also remote viewing our future, and as we get closer to that end point, the 0 point, or what is it called again? when we converge all our energy, our material energy, into the eternal realm. And I also wanted to mention the difference between infinity and eternity. You don't hear that discussed very much, but there is quite a difference. We live in infinity world in the material realm, and the non-material realm is the eternal realm. So the light being self is stuck over on that other side, that other across the river, and we're stuck here in the material realm, and we're trying to make it into, but it can never be made into eternity until that time it converges completely. And I think that's through the particle cycle, hopefully. But, you know, with the glitch of having created our creator and our creator creating us as a creator, kind of a dualistic conceptualization that we're fueling eternity in our being here, because we're bringing into this realm of unknown to eternity the and bringing it back in this cycle. Everything cycles here. So even the loop, the offset loop, infinity loop, is a duality. And the singularity, I see it as that turquoise blue, Pleiadian blue, that Methuselah stars, which are blue, those stars that are older than the last Big Bang, which shouldn't be here, but are, because they are non-material realm. They've crossed over that point of no return, or the convergence area. And that's what I think is happening here. It just doesn't make any sense. Things don't progress the way they should. We seem to always go in this endless looping cycle of, getting hopeful and then getting, just having chaos happen. So it goes that way. And I think that's just a byproduct of neutron decay. And if we could find the necessary element that we're missing, we could solve every problem that we have, because this is not working out. Even if we had a little bit of that, it would do wonders. But I don't think it's ever going to get better until we find that missing element, whether it be H3 plus 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 or something else. It does exist. I call it neoprotoplasm in the infinity, but in eternity, it is called the original protoplasm, and it's divine love. And you can't really describe it very well. It's just what we're supposed to be. It's our home. It's what we, there's no death, dying, broken dreams. There's nothing, no pain, suffering. It's just incredible. And I think all the souls that ever lived want us to be there, where we do exist, and could transform this all through transfiguration. Jesus did transfigure on Mount Tabor. Don't hear much about that. Never mentioned that in my Catholicism catechism class. Why? I don't know. But that should have been studied. That is important. What is under Mount Tabor? There could be all kinds of stuff we're just missing because I don't know why we're overlooking it. But there's so much we've overlooked, and so much that is vital to our human condition, of whether we survive, whether we don't survive, whether we're happy, whether we're not happy, in the future, now, always, whatever it is, our consciousness has been held captive. And I think we need to understand why and how it happened. Let's work on that. Okay? Thanks a lot, everybody. Have a wonderful evening and nighttime. Whatever time it is that you're seeing this, daytime, morning, whatever. It's irrelevant in the big scheme of things. So let's get to the bottom of this, please. Thank you. Bye, C's.